Uh, okay. Okay, as far as I know, we are live. This is Dr. G, question and answer period. Please go ahead and fire away. I'm ready for you. First question, please. Okay, hold on. What makes the depth healing system unique compared to other healing modalities? There are two things that make depth healing especially unique. One is its depth and its breadth. So, uh, on a horizontal plane, it's enormous, and on a vertical plane, it's very deep, 40 to 50% deeper than any other system that I'm aware of in the world. And the other thing is it's the accuracy with which I'm able to go in. The third aspect is um, my connection with the divine, and my bond is very strong, and it's because I'm active in the process of the 81,000. It is deepened every single week through special processes and every day. So that is the mystic side, which is knowledge greater than science. So, but the number one thing that you'd want to think of is the enormous scope of depth healing, what it can handle, and the depth it goes at with accuracy, predictable accuracy. I hope I answered that question. It's an excellent question. Fiona, I'm experiencing throat issues, can hardly talk. I feel this is vibrational. Any hints? Yeah, when something like that happens, Fiona, you need to sit with yourself, and I would get a pen and paper to help for clarity and removing emotional entanglements, and go through and think to yourself, what is it that I want to say that I haven't said, or that I'm having difficulty saying? It might be going back really far. That's why it's good to see me. It might be all the way to childhood, or it can be something recent. But generally, whether it's recent or not, it's founded in the subconscious, and that's why what you want to do with something like that, as opposed to a collective, would be a private with me, okay? And I can go in there and get rid of that for you. Make sense? Okay, Kimberly, it seems that a huge wealth block has been passed down from my mom's side of the family, and unfortunately, I seem to have passed it to my children. Yeah, of course, it can be healed. Now, wealth blocks, if it's on your mom's side, it'll be related to the men, to the fathers, the grandfathers, because the wealth is always connected to the men. And then whether life is difficult or easy, smooth or full of bumps and stuff, that's from mom. That's the divine feminine, and the divine masculine will be the wealth. So what we need to do is go in there and trace that down for you. Okay. And what you do as a mom for your children is you bless them that life is easy and smooth and everything works for them. And what they need is a blessing from the Father. And if that's not possible, I have a way around that, talking through his higher self. I've done it for many, many clients. But that's how we would take care of that, Kimberly. It's totally doable. Can a wealth block left unhealed cause physical illness within the body? Oh yeah. Anytime these kind of blocks are there, eventually, depends on what it is, It'll want expression. It wants to be healed. It wants to be found. So it'll cause noise. It'll make noise, one way or the other. Um, for instance, let's say a financial block is so severe that you're as poor as a church mouse, and then you cannot feed yourself properly or care for yourself. So that way it hits your health, even if you're as strong as steel. Does that make sense? Can you deal with a few issues? Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am, I sure can. That's why when you have a few issues, that's when you want to target a 2 hour. Because at first I have to be able to acquire all the information so I know all my targets. But absolutely, honey, because all of the problems are entangled in the first place. So if we just went for your throat only, that's like a 1 hour specific. But when you, there is another what's up from Dr. Fay, and I seem to have lost. Okay, I guess I'm back. So one of my clients was calling on WhatsApp, and I lost my camera for a minute. So if we were only going for your throat, that's like a 1 hour. But if we want to get the entanglements and all other issues related, we probably need 2 hours, honey. Yeah, I can handle multiple things. That's why it's called depth healing. Can you deal with a few? Okay. What is the difference between the full moon Seba and the upcoming? Oh, there's a big difference. That's a wonderful question. Full moon Sebas have nothing to do with me. Full moon Sebas is you and the divine, and I'm strictly an intermediary. I'm not doing any clearings. I'm not doing any analysis, nothing. All we're doing is presenting your prayers to the divine, and I'm making the hookup. And it's amplified by the power that is emanating through the moon. That acts as a gigantic amplifier. When you see collectives, I'm doing my work with the divine, for you, using the science, the technology, and all the different things that I've had to study over 5 decades. That's all, that's me doing my craft for you. But full moon Sabas is just you presenting prayers in an empowered space. The Seva ceremony is an empowered space. Does that make sense? That's a great question. Natasha, will you be doing more Seva ceremony? Oh, we will be doing everything. Absolutely. The Seva ceremonies, unless I died, they'll always be there as long as I'm alive. You betcha. That's my primary uh, service specifically for the divine on behalf of humanity and my clients. So that's a very big deal. And then all the collectives will continue, and no doubt we'll be building up other new things as well. Um, but nothing's going to go away. No, no, nothing's going to stop me. Okay, will you be? What are the most common struggles you see with clients? Oh, that's a very good question. Thank you very much. The three most common are: one is the wealth, which we're addressing this week. Two is the relationships, wealth, relationships, and then health. Now, those are the three big boys. Occasionally, you'll find a person in a particular level of their life, they're looking for purpose. They don't have a purpose, or the purpose has gone away. They need a new one. And but that's much more rare. It's wealth, health, and relationships. About 95% of my clients are ladies, from around the world. And unfortunately, most of them are looking for their partner and they're lonely. That's very common. Finances, of course, is a no-brainer. Everyone that I want to talk to you about that. If I have time today, there's a story I want to relate to you for you about wealth and wealth generation. And either that or I'll do it in the actual collective itself. And then health, eh? What are the most common struggle? Okay. How how to forgive the past and limiting self-beliefs. Um, that's what depth healing is designed to do. So when you try to forgive the past, you'll be using mind, and mind won't can't do it. You're using the mind to work on the mind, and it can't do it because it's the same strata. So that's where I come in with depth healing, and you go into the past and you erase the way it was downloaded. And when you erase the way it was downloaded, the constructive interference waves that follow the removal build up and change the perception. So the event was there, but it's now perceived positively. That's what's actually happening. Like when you if you fell down and broke your leg and got a SEMO when you were 3, the fact that you fell down, broke the leg doesn't go away when I clear it. The SEMO goes away and the perception is free to change. And I build it up. I don't know how it's going to build. Your system will tell me what to give you, but it builds it up and changes the perception so it's recorded in there as a positive. And because of that, your brain reorganizes, your body reorganizes, physiology, biochemistry, everything changes to go to a new positive level. But to try to do it by yourself, no, because the mind, it's like you want to stop your mind from thinking. That's the mind trying to stop the mind. Doesn't work. If that makes sense. Next question, please. I cannot say enough excellent things about Dr. G. Sabas. Oh, yeah, it's so nice of you to say that, Kimberly. Love you. Send you a big hug for that. Thank you very much. Faye Davis, Dr. Davis, during the collective process, what what does the question, what does third eye point to mean? Oh, you heard me say, what does third eye point? So when I'm disassembling entanglements, what you will have heard there is the one of the entanglements was third eye with whoever, whatever it was, if I was working on you or during the collective. The entanglement frequency shows up third eye. So I clear that and then I say, what does that point to? Or you could say, what is that entangled with? What is that showing? And it will show that will bring me to the next entanglement. I will clear that, and then I'll say the same question. Eventually, the entanglements for that particular question or subject we're looking at will run out. And then when it runs out, I'm free to go to the constructive list to build the system back up relative to what we're working on. Did I answer that question, Dr. Davis? What, let's see, what daily practices can help us stay aligned with higher conscious living? That's a beautiful question. There's a number of things. One is when you first wake up, which is the most critical time of the day, don't look at media or agendas or anything. Be with the divine and yourself in whatever way makes you allows you to settle your energy Then on a piece of paper, like a piece of paper, organize the day, like Jim Rohn would say, organize the day. As John Assaraf likes to point out, I like it myself, is two categories: your critical list and your urgent list. And you always go for the critical list first. And then what you're doing this way is you're clarifying your mind, removing the static, removing the noise, and that raises your consciousness. Next, as Mr. Peterson, what's his full name? Jordan Peterson would say is um, organize your home or your room, make your bed, make the vastu, which means your surround, clear and clean and organized. That raises your consciousness. If you do that, those two things, first thing in the morning, before you turn on the phone or the computer, you will hold yourself at a much higher level than a vast majority of the people that are just caught in the nonstop running. Because you see, the way the world is designed, it's always been that way, but it's now is very easy to do it to the populace. It's like they dangle a carrot just in front, and you're always trying to get to it, but you can't because it's on a pole and it'll stay an equal distance away from you. So you're always trying to get to it, but you can't. And that's the way the agendas, the media, all of that stuff works like that. So when you start your day with that kind of clarity and organization and centeredness, you're above that, and that's a huge advantage. I hope that answered that question. Next, let's see. These are excellent questions, guys. I'm loving this. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Mr. or Mrs. YR. How to heal the body from fibromyalgia, muscle pain, muscle spasm, anxiety. That's a beautiful question. We have to disassemble all of that. The fibromyalgia, the muscle spasms, and the anxiety, the fight or flight, that's all one set. That's all one set. What we do is you have to go through the third program, which is conception to the end of the first 6 hours of your life. See if the first downloads that are creating and supporting that issue now started there. If not, we trace through the fourth program. Did it start there? 99.9% of the time, it'll start in the third or the fourth. Because the fifth program, the frontal cortex has activated at age 7. That's different. The frontal cortex is only going to act on the database that comes before it. Just like you can't ask Google a question if Google doesn't have all the data there. Otherwise, you would ask it and the answer would come back unknown. It doesn't come back unknown because it's got all that data there. And the keyboard, when you ask a question, that's your frontal cortex. So the fibromyalgia, all of those somatic or body problems are coming from there, and that's why you and if it's really bad, like fibromyalgia means it's spreading system wide. So you have to you can't do that in one shot. That has to be disassembled until it's gone. Make sense? You're so welcome, Dr. Davis. Love you, kid. Thou art, let's see, what's this? How can I best practice detachment? I'm often dealing with people in crisis. Rhonda. one of the one of the main ways of detachment when you're working with people in Christ, as Dr. Oberski taught me and all of the greats that originally developed chiropractic would say, take no credit, take no blame. Take no credit, take no blame, because it's always a higher power in the universe and the divine that's doing everything anyway. Number two, especially if you have that kind of those kind of folks, can get very heavy. So what you can do is at the end of the day or at noon and the end of the day, just jot down stuff on paper so your brain can process it without the emotional entanglements and all the other stories. So it can just see what happened objectively. And then, like I say, take no credit, take no blame. Just try to stand in the middle, you know, to be like I am, like you're like a relay station for them. Does that help you? How can I best practice? Yes. Yeah. Now, there's nothing wrong with empathy and feeling, eh? The trick with all of those is to be able to just feel them and observe them and not judge them. All of us, our human problems are coming from the judging, the naming. That's our problem. That's slowly Bhagavan with the 81,000 is giving me more and more of the ability to simply observe. And the more you observe, that's why they say to see is to be free. The issue is the mind is very tricky, and we often think we're just looking, but we're not, because there's labels and there's just so many things, and it's below your consciousness. That's why writing comes in so handy, because it when you look at it later, it removes it from the all of the entanglements, and you see it in a much clearer. There's tons of literature in the scientific community to back that up. Yes. What advice would you give someone who feels stuck in a cycle of scarcity? Beautiful question. In a cycle of scarcity. So I lived like that for 30 years. I'm very familiar with that state. Here's what's really amazing about that, folks. Um, many years ago, maybe as long as 2 decades ago now or more, I had this realization one day. The amount of energy to notice what isn't there is exactly equal to the amount of energy to notice what is there. It's the same. So scarcity is what you're looking at, what you're noticing. And as Tony Robbins would say, we feel um, what we focus on. We notice what we focus on. It's in the brain, it's called the reticular activating center. So what you do is very easy to do if you just go ahead and do it, is start to only look all day long at what you do have, what is there, what is working, what is nice. Like right now, I hear this guy in the background. They're demolishing a building over there. In the old days, when I was a younger man, I would focus on. I'd hear that noise and it would annoy me, and because I focus on it, it would really annoy me. But now I don't, because there's the blue sky and I have all you guys here, and we're serving people. So my attention is on that, and I don't feel or care about that noise. It's just which way you look, and that will literally um, change your perception, which will change your reality. I know because I did it in 2015, when I moved here. That's when I met Johnny. I met Johnny in an area of Thailand called Loy. And he got me a job working at a little school in a village up there. And what I did was, when I had left America, I just started to focus on all the stuff that I had, because a dear friend of mine that's a great, great spiritual master, Guy Faru, he sent me an email one day and he said, "You're swimming in abundance. Open your eyes and look." And when he said that to me, that's what I did. And almost overnight, my whole life changed. That's called wealth consciousness. Any recommendation on how to align with harmony, good health, and getting rid of unwanted energies that weigh you down? Okay, very good question. Any recommendation on how to align with harmony, good health, and getting rid of unwanted energies that weigh you down? Again, that is, you feel what you focus on. So the first, what are we talking about? We're talking about awareness, because you have to become aware of what you're focusing on. We're basically operating on automatic all the time. And the way you've been programmed from childhood, when we were born into this modern world, it just teaches you to uh, jump into an agenda. The problem with an agenda is it's future based. When I wrote my book called Want More, I explain it there in great detail. The agenda is future based, but you living in the present. So that's like that carrot, see. Now, the best way, the most fundamental way to live in harmony is to align yourself and your world with your values. So that's another thing I did in 2015 for the first time. I sat down with pen and paper and really went over each area of my life, and I said, what are my values here? And then all you do is start to make that area of your life equal those values, reflect those values. Now, as soon as you do that, you will experience internal and external harmony. External harmony is a reflection of internal harmony. Just in case that noise is bothering you, I'm going to close this door, because I'm thinking it might be interfering with the transmission. So the outer world is reflecting our inner world. Most people, about 98% of the populace, are not aware of their inner world. Spiritual path means uh, to go. I'm going to give me 1 second. I want to put this thing down. The spiritual path means to become aware of your inner world. So that you sit down and you take the time, find out what are your values. You might not know, or some of them might be surprise you. Once you have that, you can start to organize your life. That will bring a state of harmony. As you do that process, you will find that you will automatically start to discard things that weigh you down or are useless, because the incongruence, as you receive develop clarity, that's a natural dropping away process. Same thing as your consciousness rises. As your consciousness rises, uh, everything starts to change, and many things will drop away and raise up. other things will raise up. And it's a never-ending process. Someday, somewhere way in the future, we blend directly into the light, into the great compassionate light, and we become one with it. That's how far the process goes, and that might take millennia. But did I hope I answered that question. Um, my ears have been burning and or warm sensations. I'm not sure if there's a spiritual meaning behind it. I'm not getting a spiritual meaning behind that right now. I'm not picking that up. Um, what we'd have to do is sit down together and really look at it. But I'm not picking up a spiritual connection on that one. How can depth healing help repair or improve? Depth healing will help repair and improve and even fully heal relationships. I have for thousands of people by going in and removing the hurts. The hurts between people comes from our perceptions. Our perceptions are from the way we grew up and how the subconscious is formed. So it's uh, when we're in relationship with each other, that is how we grow. The most important thing there is our relationships. The most important of all the relationships is mom and dad. Next most important is your spouse or your significant partner, and then everybody else, family, friends, everything. And we're all mirrors for each other because there's only one uh, person or one being, and we're all just like, for instance, sort of an analogy. If we think of you and you're made out of 70 trillion cells or 50 trillion, whatever the number is, and all of those little cells are in relationship with everybody else, but there's only the one you. So there's only one humanity, one being. The key is one. And the relationships, all of us, we're mirrors for each other. What I do when there's a trouble is go in and find out why. What is the interference? Where is the injury? What is the perception? And then I remove it. As I remove it, the person's perception opens, their heart opens, their compassion grows, their understanding gets higher. That's why, in my process, when I was a younger man in my 40s, I was heavily, 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 heavily judgmental. And, I went through so many stages. Now, since the 81,000, I've been in the 81,000 4 years, and it's a very intense process. And all my inner dialogue has changed. The inner dialogue is the exact mirror of what's going on in any one of us, and it controls your life because it's the gas pedal on our perceptions, and all that was transformed for me. It's a long process, and I have divine intervention for me. Plus, I had I don't know how many years of removing cognitive dissonance for me to get there. When we remove cognitive dissonance, it's improving your communication channel with your divine, with the universe, with your higher self and higher intelligence. That's one of the reasons it's so important. It's not just a repair shop for individual things or issues. It's a vehicle of human evolution. Am I making sense? Did I answer that question? Do you do you and your team do parasite cleanses? If so, what is a vague protocol or itinerary? Um, Parasite cleanse. I remember when I lived back in America, Dr. Habersky often found parasites. So one is, you have to clean up your diet, and as your field gets stronger, spiritually, energetically, the parasites don't mean much. You have to get the gut biome in real good condition. Um, like little indicators like toenail fungus, or fingernail fungus, stuff like that. That means that there's a fungus or something like that all through the whole body. And I never knew that until Dr. Habersky taught me all that stuff. So parasites, you make your energy strong, you make the gut biome super healthy, and you watch the environments you go in, and then the parasites go. Now you can use things like cat's claw, wormwood. These are herbs. Cat's claw, wormwood, olive leaf, nice herbal protocols like that. Using coconut oil, raw coconut oil is antimicrobial. I brush my teeth with clove oil, kills any virus. And sometimes if you're in a moldy area or something like where it's damp and all, you can get tea tree oil, mix it with clove oil, put that on your toothpaste, and it'll keep your system very, very clean. And it's always a good idea once or twice a year, do a lemon enema. It's not a coffee enema, it's different. Juice of half a lemon in warm water with KY jelly. Flush yourself out completely clean, and you'll find that your body will feel like brand new. Did that help you there? My son just turned 18, and he's been having some challenges, negative influences in relationships. Any recommendations on how I can help him overcome this? Well, that's a very good question. So, one of the biggest tricks all your life, but especially when they're younger, is the circle of friends. Who are they associating with, and then who are they listening to? What are they watching? Who's influencing them? So I don't know if you're. I'm not recognizing you by YR. If you're the mother or the father, boys have got to have strong mentorship from older men. Um, it's absolutely imperative, and it's a global crisis to a large extent, most especially in the Western world. Young men are not being, boys in that are not being, learning how to be men from men. And that makes a big mess. Um, I'd have to look at the individual case and try to be able to work on that, directly. But the primary thing is the associations, especially the five closest, because we all become an emergent property of the five closest people, financially, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally. And it's really, really, really critical. And who does he look up to, especially as a man? That's really important. If you want to get a hold of me, I'll be happy to help you any way I can on that. Let's see now. How can depth healing address underlying emotional traumas and promote overall well-being? Hello, Shiba. So, uh, with depth healing, what I do is go into the emotional trauma and I disassemble and remove it. For instance, post-traumatic stress syndrome. When I'm dealing with uh, a torture victim, and they're, that's the issue. It's a horrible trauma. With depth healing, I can disintegrate it. I disassemble and disintegrate it. And then when I'm done, there's no trace of that trauma anywhere in their field anymore. So the brain reorganizes, physiology reorganizes, biochemistry, everything reorganizes. And then that trauma is no longer negatively affecting them. Does that answer your question? That's one of the great unique gifts of depth healing. That's why it's in a class by itself. What is the significant other? What if the significant other doesn't believe in this work? Will the help I receive from depth healing still benefit me when I desire better? Oh, I see the question. Yes, Kimberly, of course. Of course. Um, and that's a real common problem. One of the issues with the significant other is sometimes it will cause the relationship eventually as you grow to dissolve if they can't follow you. I lost many, many dear friends over the years because of that. Because my spiritual growth, they just couldn't they couldn't assimilate up. They weren't ready. But you will always receive. Um, whether or not they do or not is very much up to them. Did I answer that question, honey? What is my, oh, I see. I am, you're welcome, Fiona. That's my job. I hope so. Next question, please. What have I got here? You're welcome. You're very welcome, honey. And if I run out of questions, if there's time, I'll tell you a little story. Anybody else? Is there anything that someone asked me that is still not really clear in your mind? Just ask for more clarification. I'll be happy to do that for you. So if there's nothing coming, wait a minute. How does one know if they are living aligned with their higher consciousness? Well, there's a real good question. How does one know if they're living aligned with higher consciousness, their higher consciousness? Well, for one thing, once once you are aligned with higher consciousness, I will call that like the stream of grace. So if we use me as an example, in the older days, going back a long time ago in America, I'm a very driven type A guy, and I would undergo all kinds of heavy disciplines and do all kinds of extra work, but nothing's working. And my higher consciousness is being blocked at a subconscious level from negative programming. As that negative programming was dissolved and resolved, the higher consciousness can be exposed. As it gets exposed, flow comes into your life. And when the flow started to come into my life, the enormous efforts and the stressors in that, they dissolved. Now, there are always other stressors, like Eckhart Tolle very carefully teaches. The world is not here to make us happy. The world is here, and we're in the world to be challenged all the time. So as you get aligned with higher consciousness, it doesn't matter. There will be the challenges that come at that level. And then if you were a saint or a sage at that level, when Jesus was here, Jesus has his challenges too, including facing the cross. It's just that those are the challenges for Jesus. We don't have to go on the cross. That's we can't carry that challenge. So I hope I'm answering that question. But one of the ways is there will be flow and more ease. Things will work. Uh, that's would be the generalized rule. It's always different for every human being. What techniques or practices are commonly used in spiritual and depth healing to facilitate transformation? That's a great question. Transformation, you heard me say earlier, to see is to be free. So, and that's a quote that's like from ancient times. Pardon me. The all the spiritual practices, depth healing practices, esoteric practice, everything is involving one thing: how to become aware. See, we are Sat Chit Ananda. We're consciousness, existence, and bliss, because the qualitative state of existence is bliss. So you exist and you're consciousness. And there's all these overlays. You have seven bodies, seven sheaths. Each one has a role to play. And they all have to be aligned. And then there are 10 programs that control human life and destiny and everything. And it's all operating in automatic. The trick is, for spiritual practice or when you work with me, is the level of awareness, the degree of consciousness. Now, if we look at neuroscience, the conscious brain is only active 5% of the day. 5, that's maximum. That's not a guarantee. So the rest is subconscious. And below subconscious is unconscious. Below that is the collective unconscious. So awareness is a very big thing. It's not superficial. I hope I answered that question. I love that question. Do we create our disease, or are they entangled in previous life? A Fiona, I love your question. Um, we are co-creating any kind of a disease, and how do we know that? Very simply, it's been proven or shown in laboratories all over the world for over 60 years now, and they've all replicated it. They take a single human cell, single cell, they put it in a petri dish in which the environment is perfectly controlled for that cell, perfect, and it never dies. Not a single one of those cells in any laboratory has ever died over 60 years, because everything's ideal and perfect. There's nothing to stress it or to worry it or to scare it or to do anything. No toxins. So we co-create any kind of a disease. And diseases, because of that, the disease talks to us. It's a voice trying to communicate to us about ourselves, about something that is unresolved or that needs to be cleared or changed, something like that. Same with pain, anything like that. That's why healers, we try to learn the symbolic language of the body so we can understand what's going on for the client, eh? And now an emotional previous life. We call that's from the first program and also in the second program. And those are brought into our life at the time of conception. And then it has its own timeline if it gets triggered. It's latent. And then if it gets triggered, it'll activate. I hope that answers your question. I love these question and answers. You're welcome. It's been very insightful, and I'm learning so much even from other people's questions. You're so welcome, Shiva. Yeah, one of the beautiful things that I love in this, I just love these sessions. We all learn from each other. Because when you ask a question, I'm not the all seeing eye. So I'm channeling and then I'm learning with you guys, which is really lovely. Can you share more about the collective energy field and the significance in healing? Yes, that's a beautiful, deep question. So, right now, the collective field is really congested. Kali Yuga is winding down, and the new president is in, and there's so much, so much. So the field is very congested, right? And what happens is uh, the field, it's a morphic field, it can easily dominate um, your consciousness and cloud over everything. So if you want to heal, if you're trying to heal a process in your body or your heart or your mind or all of them, and the field, the collective field is really negative or really condensed or really heavy, it makes it very hard to progress. Very hard to progress. So the collective, it's like not wanting to grow old. So you do all of they have superb sciences for anti-aging, and you do all of them, and you live in a blue zone where they're the oldest living people in the world, and you take care of your telomeres and everything, and you'll still age. Why? Because the collective belief in the aging process is so strong, it will override all of the anti-aging. The anti-aging will slow it down, but it won't stop it. It can't stop it because the morphic field is too big, too strong, too well established. There's actual belief systems in you, in us, that extend back all the way to the beginning of the human form in aging. So that is a collective field, and that will uh, it will win. It will dominate. Can you talk a little bit about your $10 workshop? Oh, yes. Thank you very much for bringing that up. So as we're coming up on the end of the year, what we're trying to do is really help people in every way we can. That's why I hope you'll go to the website because we have all these discounts to help you out financially, eh? And one of the things the divine signaled me to do is to do a workshop. What I'm going to do is give you a real good hands-on, learn it today, use it tomorrow way to meditate that is proven by all of the science, and it really works, and you don't have to have any kind of a level of consciousness to perform it. You can do it right straight off the street, and you will receive massive benefit. And then I'm going to teach you how to reprogram your mind to automate new behaviors. See, our life is a readout. Your progress or your lack of progress is a readout of our habits. Our habits are our behaviors. And there is the action, and then there's the how you do the action. I'm a specialist on the how because I'm a Dharma hey ho person. And in the Zen Dharma world, the spiritual world, it's all process oriented. So the how becomes very important. So what I'm going to do is show you a reprogramming system that's ultra simple so that when I'm all said and done, the total amount of time it takes you to do this practice totally 10 minutes. The benefit is for hours and hours that day, and within 7 days you automate the new behavior, and when you look at the automated new behavior downline in 5 months, 1 year, your results and your progress are exponential. So I want to give that to you. And the cost is just an exchange because the universe is designed so that if there isn't a exchange, eventually it will hurt myself and or the healer or anybody. Just it's like it's $10. But please come and tell your friends because it's really beautiful, and I'll cut through all the chase so that it's very, very simple. Okay, next. We think we're ready. Okay, so here's a story coming up on for this uh, the Wealth Collective. Okay, now this story was related. It's a true story, and it was related by Sri Bhagavan to us in the 81,000 and a number of years ago now, and I've always remembered it. I was especially reminded of it since the field seems down financially right now, um, for us too here, especially prior to the election and then after the election. And I was talking to a dear friend of mine that's one of my primary mentors, beautiful life coach in England, and he left me a message and reminded me of the story. So I would like to share it with you. I'll make it very brief because the story is fairly long. But basically, in India, there was a gentleman who knew how to make real good hamburgers. He made sort of like the original Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders. He made really good chicken. So this gentleman made these beautiful hamburgers, and he had himself like a little stand on the side of the road, and he was a retired guy, and he would make his little hamburgers, and people would come by and buy them, and everybody always loved him, so he was always busy. Meanwhile, he had his son, his oldest son, had gone to America, was in an MBA program, business marketing. I think it was marketing division. So he's so proud of his son, of course. And he was making his hamburgers, and then everyone was telling him, say, uh, these are so delicious. Why don't you open up a couple more stands? And he said, well, I don't know. I've never tried something like that before. And they said, oh, it's easy. Just uh, get a couple of guys and train them how to make your hamburgers and open up a couple of stands because, down on Main Street over there, that'd be a good spot. And these people were all regulars. So he's listening to them. So he did that, trained a couple of guys. They were making the hamburgers. And each one of those stands were doing really good. So after a while, he was doing so great, they decided to pool the money and make like a little store, like a little restaurant. And he did. Meanwhile, his son's over in the MBA program in America. I think it's a 4-year program, I think. So he's so proud, and the store was thriving, and he was making money coming out of his ears. I mean, he had a waiting line to get in there. And then one day, uh, his son come back. He graduated, come back, and he sees his dad in the restaurant, and the restaurant's thriving. And his son looks over the itinerary and the cost of the kind of beef that he was buying, he bought the very best. And the kind of bread he was buying was the very best. Everything was the very best. That's why his hamburgers taste so good. But his son said, Dad, don't you know there's a recession right now and that prices are high and there's inflation, there's all these different things. And his dad said, Really? I didn't know. And his son said, Yeah. You don't have to buy bread that good. You can get this bread. This is at a much lower price. And look at this meat. You'll save so much money, Dad, because there's a recession. Oh, is that so? And he respects his son so much because his son has an MBA. He doesn't have an MBA. So he got the cheaper bread and he got the cheaper meat. And you can see where the story goes. His son keeps telling him how there's a recession, cut back on this, cut back on that. Well, as he kept cutting back, the clientele went down, 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 and down, down. And then one day he had to lose the restaurant and he was back at his little stand on the side of the road and you see, my son was right. There's a recession. And that's a true story. And it was all due to the perception of the man. The son had been programmed that there's a big recession and he's got all his reasons and all his judgments and all his mental stuff. Meanwhile, his dad was very wealthy, enormously successful. And when he bought into the son's story of the collective of this big recession, he lost everything. Now, my buddy says to me the other day that reminded me, he says, Dr. G, the economy or the global may be down, but whenever it's really down, there are always lots and lots and lots of people who are making lots and lots of money. The difference is perception. It's never the environment. It's it's our inner environment. It's our inner perception. Your inner perception comes from your subconscious programming. That's why depth healing is valuable. That's why I'm happy to bring it to you. And that's why it works. That's why my life is different now. And and I'm a very happy man. So that is a true story. And unfortunately, that kind of thing happens day in and day out all over the world. Don't let it happen to you. I'm right here for you, folks. Okay, I hope that was meaningful for you. Thank you, you all. Yes, thank you so much for bringing Johnny. Thank you for organizing this. He does such a beautiful job. This stuff all flows as smooth as glass. And thank you all. Spread the word, eh? Get everybody in, and let's make a big, powerful, happy community. That's one of my dreams of you all. Yeah. Thank you all very, very much. I guess we're closing out. Sweet dreams to all of you, and I'll see you soon. Okie doke. Come on in and see me. I'll take care of you.